Empowerment Blueprint, where we have our special guest Mike Gomez here today. Just kind of talking to him about, he's just getting into the entrepreneur journey, just giving them some advice. Again, like we said before, we just here to empower the community, educate the community through my experience as a serial entrepreneur in real estate, in politics, and wherever else we can get. So, definitely, Mike, thanks for joining us today on the podcast. And hopefully, you'll leave here with, more knowledge than you came with. So.
Well, I want to say thank you for having me. First and foremost, little did I know our meeting on Wednesday or when we conversed was going to lead to this.
Right.
I thought I was just going to be in the background, but you have me here, so that's a beautiful thing. One of the main reasons why I was like seeking you out in a sense, when I saw you, I saw a lot of the things that you did with the school board and the politics. But when I first heard of you, your name was Mrflipdahood, and I was like, what? What's that even mean?
Right.
Obviously, one can go real soft with that thought, but I found out what you were about, and we always would never cross paths, and recently we've been crossing paths.
Right.
So I thought that was very important for me to take advantage of that. And when I saw you that day, I was with the superintendent. You were very welcoming, and you were very like, dude, like, let's reach out, let's work together, let's make something happen. And I want to say thank you for that, because like I said, I didn't think that was going to come to this. And
right, exactly. Just like we talked about, you never know what a meeting can, turn into, what a, just a conversation can turn into long term. But no problem, man. Definitely thank you for coming on. And, like you said, you heard of the, I guess, infamous Mrflipdahood. What was your first thoughts when you heard of me? What was just keep it real, keep it real for the people. Did you hear anything specific? Did you have any?
No, I didn't hear anything specific, but it's like with anyone with you when you hear Mrflipdahood, right? It doesn't have a nice ring to it. It's either that or a rap album, right?
Right.
But I'm not one to make assumptions. I always believe you have to give someone the chance to give you that opinion of how you're going to take it. I always give people respect, so I never had any lack of respect for you. It was just like when I first heard him, like, the hell, like that. All right. But then I started seeing your face pop up everywhere, and then I kind of made sense why they called you Flip-the-Hood, because you were buying stuff.
Right.
I was an entrepreneur.
Literally what it is. It is what it is, right? It's no hidden, name behind it. I'm definitely flipping the hood. I'm flipping it from the standpoint of, we taking these old houses that, in a lot of cases dilapidated, just bringing them to life. We flipping that house from one aspect to another, you know what I'm saying? And again, from different businesses, I believe in, again, flipping my community, opportunities, creating job opportunities for, for the youth, for, adults, and, and everybody in between. So that's what Mrflipdahood is. It's not obviously, growing up in this community, you thinking the first thing you think is, from a negative, just keep it 100. Somebody flipping drugs, right?
I wasn't going to go that route, but
let's address the elephant in the room, right?
But there's also another take. I think you could look at it that way, but just from my experiences from the outside looking in, before we actually started interacting recently, because I have known of you for a while. Not only do you just flip the hood, you flip kids' dreams. Yeah. I see things you've done from where I see stuff on Facebook where you'll just randomly pull up and give out basketballs or hold functions or contribute to organizations and groups that got things going on. But the one interesting thing I did see about you recently, and like I said, I'm not here trying to build you up, but it's just pretty cool because, like I said, from outside looking in, you recently had an incident where you made a promise to these kids that if you bring me good grades, I'll get you some new shoes. Shit, I'd have been at home that day studying.
Right, but it's funny that you say that because, again, kids need different types of motivation, right? And a lot of times it's not just, get good grades just because you're supposed to get good grades, right? When I was coming up, I had different mentors in the community like, hey, bring me your report card. Once you get, if your report card is this, I'm going to reward you. And, for whatever reason, that was my motivation, right? To make sure I got good grades. It wasn't the fact that I say, education is, of course I understand how
very important
education is. But when you, at 5th, 6th, 7th, grade, that motivation can be a pair of Jordans, not, what your parents is telling you the importance of an education can be. So, whatever tactics we can use, to motivate our kids to, get what they need to get and do, absolutely, I'm all for it. But, I pulled up on some kids and had that conversation, but I've been doing that, man, for years. You know what I'm saying? Ever since I've been in a position to where it's financially I could help, I've been giving back to my community. And
Well, my cell phone bill is doing about a week if you want. Not just saying. No, and no, I think that's cool. Like I said, from the outside looking in to see that, and me not really knowing you till prior, like actually us having conversations. Like I knew of you, but not to actually. We've had conversations, but I just like I said, that's just to me that I can't just look at you, Mr. Flip, because I've seen you try to flip kids' dreams and education, and that's a beautiful thing. I don't know if people ever. I'm sure you heard it a lot, but I just wanted to tell you that personally.
Man, I appreciate it.
That's why I kind of reached out and wanted to see like what you were about, and not in a bad way, but see what you can give and I can take, and maybe I can give too, like little hints I've given you about this podcast and little ideas, and you were very open and welcoming to
Yeah,
it.
absolutely,
Obviously with the support of the backup.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, again, I'm one to say anytime somebody give you some good advice or whatever, learn from whoever you can learn from. If they got some good advice, man, take it, man. Again, obviously do your own, due diligence on, if it's something of importance, but take it, man. But yeah, definitely excited, again, having you on. Again, what questions you have as an up and coming entrepreneur that you think I can help you from my experience with?
Well, just being, thrown into the fire right now randomly, which I'm glad I did. Maybe this might be the best version of this podcast to get for me to ask questions. What is like one of the biggest motivations that keeps you going even through the dark times? Like for me, I already knew when I signed up for this that there wasn't going to be a consistent check, right? I think you established that in a prior podcast and even in a prior conversation. Right. I've heard you say it. So what made you try different avenues to make sure there was a consistency to income?
So again, and it's through trial and error, right? It was never... nobody has a blueprint on what's the perfect way of being an entrepreneur, right?
Looks like you kind of do, though.
Man, you see what's funny is people tend to see the successes. They don't see the failures that I've had over the past 20 years. I got, I like to say I failed more than most people ever tried. You know what I'm saying?
And I would agree with that, because I tell people too, I don't become who I am as an artist through bad photo shoots.
Right.
Bad lighting, bad shutter speed, all that. So I get that.
So you gotta fail up though. Tavis Smiley had a book that I read, called Failing Up. And again, that's why I get my motivation through reading inspirations, and how he talked about how so many different people on their way to the top, because failing up, on their way to the top actually failed in different aspects. Jordan got a commercial. He said, I missed X amount thousand shots. I lost X amount of hundreds of games, and but that's why I succeed. So again,
it's one of my favorite commercials too.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely one of mine. Again, being a huge Bulls fan, you seen the hard times of the Pistons beating us up through the '80s, and then we go in and sweep them. But again, I don't think that ever happens if we don't fail, you know what I'm saying, and learn from those. Again, I've learned from all the failures that I've had in life. I've learned more from my failures than my successes, because a good student take notes when he's failing. Okay, this didn't work. That's why they get the whole going back to the drawing board type thing. But you got to take good notes when you fail. So that's the advice I would give any entrepreneurs. And again, just like you said, there's going to be a lot of dark days, right? So you have to develop a why. Like, what's your motivation? Is that motivation, getting out the hood? Is that motivation, buying your mother a house? Is that motivation sending your kids through college? Because on those dark days, you're going to need some type of motivation to keep you going. I remember, again, coming up through my entrepreneur journey, it was tough. I come home, and it's hard when you're working every single day and results are not happening immediate.
Oh man, I know.
You used to come in, I came from the corporate world, so, I'm getting a nice check every 2 weeks I don't know when. You telling me I don't know when my next income is coming from, and I still supposed to put in this grind day in and day out? Man, so that's the tough part. But my why was, I come through those doors at home, and my kids, my daughters, they run into me, Daddy's home. And it was like, okay, I get it now. That's my why. I got to keep them smiling, got to keep them in position. So, you have to have a why, because it's going to be a lot of dark days where you're going to want to give up. I mean, that's reality of it again. And I don't take that for granted. Now I still have nights and days where it's like, man, is this really worth it? Man, I've accomplished this. I can just, give it all up right now. And just,
Kobe says, the job done?
man, job not finished, right?
I also want to touch on that. I also felt like my whole situation changed too when I found someone that held me accountable, like was like calling me out on my BS, like, dude, you're like, you got work. Job not done, finish that job.
Right.
And I tell people this, I learned a lot in my failures as well. And I think for those out there that are going to acquire, obviously not to his level, but take my notes as a beginner, stay consistent, hold yourself accountable, and understand not everything's going to go as planned.
Right.
We don't prepare for that. And I did bad deals. I didn't meet deadlines, but I ended up at one point, like Michael Jackson said, different Michael from Gary, I had to look at the man in the mirror and be like, dude, you're the only consistent character in your movie.
Right.
Everyone else comes and goes. And, that's what I had to do was start holding myself accountable, and things changed. And I saw the evolution, not just my business grow to where it's at. And the reason why I wanted to be was, like I said, like, how'd you get into other avenues? But what was the curiosity that, I guess in a sense, made you chase the cat,
Right. I mean, again, I just, growing up as a kid, for whatever reason, my desires to was like, I've seen, my mother struggling, living check to check. And, I made a decision at a very young age. I'm like, man, I want to be rich. That was literally my goal as a little kid, 9, 10. So I'm like, obviously wasn't nobody hiring a 9 or 10-year-old at that time. So I'm like, man, how can I hustle, in the right way? Because there was a lot of opportunity out there doing it the wrong way. How can I hustle the right way to be able to get some, money coming in? And I, came up with different ideas. I was that kid, literally, I was selling candy, on the block. I was I was cutting hair as a kid. I was swapping out games. You play this game, you tired of it, I'll buy it from you and sell it to somebody else. Again,
You were GameStop. Yes, you were GameStop for GameStop.
So actually, that's one of my quotes. I was GameStop before GameStop.
You might have a good lawsuit out here.
Yeah, I'm like, man, I should have got that idea of Pat back then.
Yeah.
But that's what I was doing, because I'm like, these kids, I'm like, you play this game? He's like, no, I didn't master the game. When you end the game and conquer it, it's like, man, I don't need it no more. So I'm like, all right, what you gonna do with it? Well, I sell it. How much you want for it? I'm like, that's it? I'm like, it's still X amount of dollars in the store. And he's like, well, I ain't doing that. I don't play it no more. So any money is good. So I take that, flip that.
As long as you're making it above it.
Exactly. I take that. And again, I was flipping that back then. You know what I'm saying? Again, we got to get away from the idea of, flipping is just always about some, the drugs, man. You can flip any opportunity that's given to you. You know what I'm saying? I'm flipping these houses. I'm flipping every opportunity that, that's presented to me, man. And that's what it's all about as an entrepreneur.
See, like I always tell this, my experiences with entrepreneur, like I'll give an example. I went last night to go work for another company that does a lot of other stuff for weddings, and stuff like that. And I'm there and I'm helping this guy set up. And I realize while I'm there, I'm like, man, I got that sitting in my garage. I didn't even think about using it for that. I just bought all these uplights. Like, I don't even try pimping those out at events. And I realized last night that I could be making a lot more money. But the problem was I had to have someone open my eyes to that. I'm sitting on potentially $800 every time I go out that I'm not utilizing to put it in my pocket. And literally, I do nothing. It would be 5 minutes to set it up, 5 minutes to break it down.
And see,
that's why I wanted to reach out to you.
So as an entrepreneur, right, I see everything as a business opportunity. And that's why
I struggle.
That's what you got to see. And I don't care what it is. Anything that presents itself, I'm like, man, how can I make some money off of this? And my mind been like this for my whole life. Again, I think that was something that definitely, God blessed me with, you know what I'm saying? Because
He blessed me with a slower processing mind sometimes.
Yeah,
I'll see something and I'm like, damn, I could have been doing that. I might apologize for my mouth, but I could have been doing that 10 years ago.
Right, exactly. But it's always the first person that do it that, I'm sure Uber wasn't the first person to say, man, let me, ride share, whatever to make money. But no, it was Uber that, put a strategy together and put a, playing together, get it and capitalize on it. It's the one that actually, and again, as an entrepreneur, it's about execution, right? Because again, it's nobody on you to tell you this is what you got to get done. It's you. You know what I'm saying? You the only one that you
Holding yourself accountable. Like, I know I got stuff I got to edit, but I'll probably be watching Notre Dame game today because I love my Fighting Irish, but I know I got to get it done, but it's prioritizing yourself. No, don't make that face because
no, see, that's what I'm. So again, I'm a huge football, basketball fan, but I realized that not long ago I'm like, man, I can put this time in watching these people make millions, or I can be putting myself in a position to make millions. So you gotta, again, it's about sacrificing. Sometimes the only thing you gotta sacrifice is your time. Is you really willing to sacrifice your time and just say, man, yeah, I want to watch the Irish. And again, on my phone right now, I got an alert every time the Irish about to play. So I'm an Irish fan too. But again, is watching that game gonna put any money in my pocket?
No.
And is it gonna put any money in yours? So yeah, you gotta take, what sacrifices are you willing to give in order to be successful? Because there's no level of success that you could accomplish without putting in that sacrifice. So you just got to ask yourself, what am I willing to sacrifice? Am I willing to sacrifice my time with hanging out with my friends? Am I willing to sacrifice, not watching the Irish game 3 hours?
So I'll tell you a funny story. So I tried to shortcut it, thought I outthought the system. I even bought a mount that stands there. It holds my iPad. 'Cause I do my photo editing on my iPad because it's evolved so much now.
Right.
And I start editing, and the next thing you know, I'm just like, so that system don't work. That system didn't work. No. But that's why I said it's two different mindsets, and that's why I was so eager to reach out and talk to you and get to like pick your brain a little bit. I mean, granted, we're on the podcast. I would love to talk to you a little bit more in depth down the line. Obviously, we talked about doing some stuff as far as real estate, which I'm really looking forward to the opportunity. And thank you for that opportunity. I know you got a new property coming up that we've already talked about. So yeah, man, I mean, it's just two different mindsets. That's why I wanted to lead up.
And that's what, again, just going back to the sacrifice. And so, again, I'm a huge diehard Bears fan. You know what I'm saying? And
I know you're missing nothing for those 3 hours.
But I think we got a bright future ahead of us. But, nevertheless, the first game of the season, I was at the first game of the season, front row, all of that, fun, great. As soon as I get off the train.
Yeah, my phone didn't ring that day. It's cool, though.
The first thing I do, get off the train, I go to my office. I didn't watch the rest of the games for that day. The rest of that day, I was in my office grinding, trying to close up on a huge portfolio deal we had of like 31 units, my largest acquisition to
Congratulations.
date. Thank you. But again, I could have said, man, this opening day kickoff. I'm a sit back and relax and watch all the games all day. No, I got work to do. I got to grind because, again, they making millions. So what I look like, watching them make millions and watching, they live in a dream. You understand what I'm saying? That's how you got to look at it. They live in a dream. Are you living yours by watching? Is your dream watching them live a dream?
No, not at all. And honestly, it could probably create some of the gray hairs you guys could probably see watching the Bears because it's been stressful these last few years. We still have the same problem. But no, yeah, I think that's great. And congratulations once again on that accomplishment. And that's what I always tell people when it's crazy because my mindset's different. And my friend, the young lady you met me with, she's often to say, you settle once you make the money. Because when you're thirsty for it, you're like, I got to call you back.
You put in that work.
Yeah. Right. And unfortunately, with the industry that I'm in, photography, we're already paid the moment we leave that day. So I had to get that to me. It's like my motto is don't pay me before my event. Like if you pay me that Friday, that day, I'm probably gonna be like, dang, when I leave, I'm like, dang, I didn't even make no money today because that's my mindset. And I tell people like, I'd rather you just pay me the day of, and then the editing part. I think every photographer will agree though, it sucks. The post-production part sucks.
I mean, but that's what that's part of it. Yeah. Exactly. People don't care about that though, right? They don't care about the hours that I put in, the hours you put in editing. They want to see the finished results. So.
They love the product when they get it. Can I say I've never had a disappointed client. If I have, they never reached back to me about it. But I've been in the industry for 20 years. To give you guys a backstory, I started off with my father, who I started off selling keychains at weddings. Then I went to doing video. Then I started doing photography, and I had a great mentor and a great teacher, which is my father. I haven't advertised my business or company in so long, and consistency just comes. I've seen a lot of people in the industry and through locally politics where the business just keeps recycling. So that's a beautiful thing. I often think that I slept on myself. I should advertise more, but I'm literally consistent every weekend until around this time when everyone starts to slow down.
Right, exactly. So again, just going back to what you said as far as the editing part, you hate that. As an entrepreneur, right, you got to fall in love with the process. You have to be able to say, man, yeah, the editing it sucks, is this and that, but it's got to be like, no Diddy, but you got to be like, man, I know
Everyone's getting a Diddy joke in there. Everyone's getting it in one time.
So, but no, I'm like, man, I hate doing the editing, but man, you gotta fall in love with the process of it. You know what I'm saying? Because again, I've been, committed to weight training, strength training, lately, and I used to absolutely hate squats, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, I remember coming up playing football. The coach Tuesdays, Thursdays, I dread those days. Today it's squat days. I'm like, man, can I call off? What excuse can I come with? Everybody want to lift on the upper body, but when it comes to squats, it's like, man, I don't want no part of that. But as an adult, I understand the importance of squatting and, what it do for the, different things for a man.
Core.
Yeah, for the core and just for everything. So it was like, man, I actually fell in love with that, you know what I'm saying? And fall in love with the process of, growing through working out and training and working the legs and stuff like that. So again, whatever you're doing, man, just fall in love with the process and enjoy the journey. You know what I'm saying? And again, you're going to hear this a lot on the podcast, man, because as an entrepreneur, you can never settle, you can never get content. So, when somebody say, man, you happy to go hear me do the Kobe remark a lot, job finished.
I love that interview though too.
Job not finished. You know what I'm saying?
Why aren't you celebrating? You're up to old. Job done?
Right.
No, that's me.
Yeah,
You're up there celebrating.
Yeah, exactly. So again, and as an entrepreneur, that job is never done because the minute you sit down and relax, it's like, man, you go get left behind. So you always, as an entrepreneur, got to keep moving forward, keep pressing forward. Man, again, so the advice I would give you is, man, sacrifice, fall in love with the process of everything that you're doing, you know what I'm saying? Skip an Irish or two game,
Don't speak that blasphemy around me. No, you know what? I will say this. I am often happy with the end result. I have it down to a system. I think that's why I figured it out. And I do get it done quick. It's just, I just don't like going through all those photos because a lot of it's repetitive too. It's a wedding, it's a quinceañera, it's the same stuff. I enjoy the preparation because that's to me when I start getting creative, what I'm going to do at the park and the beach or wherever we're going. But the church and the ceremony, it's like, oh, okay, it's the same stuff. Right. And that's the part that kills me because I love editing the part where I can be creative and be myself. And I've often tried to delve into different industries of the photography. Which is, modeling, boudoir, personal family shoots, dog shoots, whatever, product photography. But my favorite is obviously always going to be the food because someone's got to eat it. You can see that, as you can tell, man, that's the only lifting I do is tacos, pizzas, and all that. But I just want to say, man, before we wrap this up, thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Man, thank you, man. Hopefully, we've enlightened you on some things through my entrepreneurial experience. Absolutely. And our audience out there, just hopefully you can gain something from this, and again, look forward to the feedback and just checking in with us and seeing how we can improve on the empowerment community podcast. So, and that's what we all about, man. So I'm looking forward to different guests coming on and the feedback from our community, because again, this is what we do. We do it all for the community. So, Mike, thanks for having us, and
now you having me.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. But as you now you know the real meaning behind Mr. Flip the Hood.
Yeah, it's not what you think. But if I could just say one thing before I leave, I always tell people don't stress, leave it in God's hands. In God's time, everything works out, and obviously in God's time, it worked out for me to be here with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, my brother. God bless.
Good.
Oh my God.
What happened?
I literally was thinking in my head, beautiful. And then you said it out loud. That was sorry. Because I was just be
All right, now don't let me.
beautiful, but oh my God, that was like,
I try to help carry you through it, man.
I came out of your mouth. So